but that's alright.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yo guys, what is up? Max on our Wonderlands video, and today we got our first look or deep dive into how spells are going to work in Wonderlands. There's a new IGN article where they cover the different spell manufacturers, the different spell types, how min-maxing spells is going to work, and more. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you find it informative, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, guys, let's get right into it. All of this information comes from a new IGN article. I will have the link in the description, but I'll be covering everything you need to know here. So this is an interview with Ashley Lyons, who is the lead FX artist for Wonderlands, and also Matt Cox, who is the lead director of the game. And they go in depth about magic and how, and to quote, that in Borderlands, guns are the spine and spirit, but in the addition of magic in Wonderlands, it is now becoming part of the core gameplay loop of Wonderlands. And spells are, if you did not know, replacing grenades. Now, in this interview, we get to know a lot more about how spells are going to work and answer some of the questions that you may have had seeing certain things or certain enemies or characters use wands for attacks and others use hands. And it boils down to the different manufacturers. Now, for spells, there's going to have manufacturers that have different focuses, the same way that you have Jacobs use like ricochet weapons or Malawan be elemental. Each spell manufacturer will have different kind of focuses of the spells that they create. And so our first manufacturer is called Conjura, and they're the makers of simple cast spells. Arcan makes channel casting magic. So if you're going to hold down the button and constantly be using a spell, that's going to be an Arcan spell. Conjure is going to be simple spells, and Wordweaver is another manufacturer, makes repeating cast magic. We don't get too much more detail on like what repeating cast magic is and some of these other things, but another one, Miraculum, specializes in self-cast magic. Now we do get an example of what self-cast magic is, and that is going to be a cryo bubble of protection that you can cast yourself on. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of utility spells, defense spells, healing spells, damage spells, and we get to talk a little bit more about how these different spells are going to look and work. So the variety of spells that they mention in this article are Hawk spells, Fireball spells, Ice Spike spells, Hydra spells, Meteor spells, Protective spells or Protection Circle spells, and ground spells or ground fissure spells. And for example, I'll be showing some pictures on screen of these different kind of spell archetypes and their different modifiers. Like for example, we saw a fireball meteor spell in the gameplay footage, but in this picture we see a tiny little fireballs, like tons of little tiny fireballs casting and hitting them. So the different spells will maybe focus on ice spikes, but have different ways of summoning them or casting them, whether that's being channeling ice spikes or simple cast to ice spikes, for example. Next up, for variety, when they talk about the Hawk spells, they say think Mordecai's Bloodwing, but faster with more possible variety and higher boost and highly boostable with stacking modifiers from your other items and attacks. You're going to be able to boost up your different spells. And when we go further down in the article, to quote, Lyons said, in theory, with the right combinations of weapons, spells, and other modifiers, you could build a god-tier spellcaster. Such a build is purely theoretical at this point, but little doubt that the Borderlands community could come up with something. And in addition, gathering the magic. One of the details that makes magic feel so special in the world of Wonderlands is its visual identity, and the different spells, whether there be different types, cold spells or cold lightning spells, fire, poison, dark magic, shock spells, will have different symbols when you cast them. Each spell has their own sigil that when you use your cast animation, you're going to see that sigil pop up based off of its different element. So in summary, we learned that the different spells will have different manufacturers and will specialize in different types of spells, whether those be like elemental damage spells, self-casting spells, casting a Hydra to cast spells for you, the different elements of the spells. Spells are going to have a lot of diversity. Now, the one thing that we don't know that much of, but that Matt Cox mentioned, is the RNG-based spell modifier system, and he calls it a min-maxer's dream. Now, as chat pointed out, it sounds like, you know, when in Borderlands 3, when you've got the different like parts on a grenade to get like a mitosis hunter seeker or a cloning maddening tracker or a diluvian firestorm, it sounds like spells are going to be following a similar like RNG based part system, in that maybe you've got a spell that is a simple lightning spell, and when you cast it, it hits enemies. But if you get the part on it that modifies it to split, now you've got a more powerful spell. Or maybe you get another part that adds tracking on it, so you've got a tracking cast spell. And it sounds like farming for these might be RNG based, the same way that you have RNG farming for like parts on a weapon or parts on a grenade. And while I'm sure they won't be necessary, it does sound like if you want to get super intimate with the spells and have the diversity, or have the same diversity in your spells and the same specificity, you can do that, as well as go for like guns with the gun parts and the best gun elements. You can do the same way for spells, or the same way that grenades work. It sounds incredible, and it gets me even more excited to go for a full spellcaster in Wonderlands. That's definitely what I'm gonna go do, and this article makes me even more hyped for that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you learned anything new, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe on that, guys. Take care. Peace.